In Australia, rent-a-grandma services are pretty popular.
What? Quite popular? What? These Aussies are getting out there renting grandmas and not telling me? How many grandmas have I met that have been fake? G'day, it's your boy, Joinen, and I live in Australia. And that is relevant today because Brightside has a couple of videos actually. 50 things that are only possible in Australia, like having 50 million kangaroos, I suppose. It's just Australia things. So quirky. But then we have 25 things that only happen in Australia. World, Barbie. Australia, Barbie! Yeah, chuck him on the Barbie. I want to see how well Brightside knows Australia. I will be here to determine whether these things happen in Australia, and Twitch chat will be here to determine whether these things only happen in Australia or if they also happen in other places.
G'day, mate. As you've probably guessed, I'm greeting you from the land down under.
Yeah, I believe it. You started with a hey, mate. Obviously. You're greeting me from the land down under. I didn't buy it. I didn't buy that this guy flew to Australia just to record this video, just to record the voiceover.
Where people pay with plastic money, some fish are over 300 million years old.
We have fish that are over 300 million years old. That doesn't seem right. Immortal fish? Question mark? Yeah, I don't know about that.
Cockroach racing is a big deal. You better listen up.
Wait, did he just say cockroach racing is a big deal in Australia? How have I missed out on this big deal? How have I never, in my Australian life, seen a cockroach race?
Or else my friend, the drop bear, will find you. If only it were real.
What? Hold on. You'd started this video off with a bunch of like fun little Australian tidbits and you dropped that a drop bear isn't real? Get your facts straight, dude. I've never in my life seen cockroach racing and drop bears are as real as they come. Tell that to all the lives lost. What's a drop bear? They're freaky little bears. They look like rabid koalas. And they just drop down on you from the trees and just go to town. People say it's a myth, but it's not a myth. The myth is that you cover yourself in Vegemite to ward them off. That's where you pull the joke on people.
Number 1. To get an idea of how huge Australia is, just imagine this. There's a cattle ranch called Anna Creek Station that's bigger than Israel.
A cattle ranch? There's a ranch! I don't believe that there's a single ranch in Australia. Ranch to me is the most American word you can find. We have a big old block of land where we put cattle.
It's the largest working cattle ranch in the world, and it's 7 times larger than America's biggest, located in Texas.
Texas? You think you're so tip-top with your big cattle ranches? Well, guess what? You're not 1/7 of the Australian cattle ranch. I don't know. I can't really confirm this. I guess it's true. It's why wouldn't it be true? But I've never seen it.
Number 2. You might have seen a lot of weird eBay listings, but one guy from Australia out-weirded them all. In 2006, he tried to sell New Zealand at a starting price of less than a cent. It escalated quickly, but when the price reached $2,100 with 22 bidders, eBay closed the auction. They explained that a nation of 5 million was definitely not for sale.
What on earth has that got to do with Australia? 25 things that only happen in Australia. Yeah, some bloke tries to sell New Zealand. So Australian. Classic Australian occurrence. The Australians are always trying to sell New Zealand.
Number 3. If you're over 18 years old, then you're legally old enough to vote in Australia. But missing a vote without a good reason will cost you anywhere from $20 to $50. 20 is for first-timers, and if you do it again, it rises to $50.
$20? $20 for missing a vote? No, it's more than that. I forgot once. The fine for not voting in the 2020 election is $83. Yeah, it's not $20, okay? I forgot once, and it is expensive. Hey, look, I believe that people should vote. You should absolutely vote. I hear that's a big thing in the US at the moment. All the US people going around out there. Hello. Let me tell you this from a fellow Australian who has to vote. You should vote. And not just because you're gonna cop an $83 fine if you don't.
If you refuse to pay the fine, be prepared to say goodbye to your driver's license.
Wait, what? I don't know. I didn't get that far. I just paid the fine. Just makes sense. If you don't vote, then why should you be on the road, okay? Think about these things. If you're the type of person who doesn't vote for your prime minister or your local government bloke, you shouldn't be allowed to drive.
What does the Sydney Opera House look like to you? A bunch of sails? In fact, the architect who designed it was inspired when eating an orange. If you put together the segments, it would be a perfect sphere. Danish architect Jorn Utzon never got to see his masterpiece completed since
It was Danish. The building, the picture that people think of when they think of Australia was designed by a Dane. Like, nothing is ever Australian. Everything that the Australians like to claim as Australian is always British, or apparently Danish, or Australians themselves. They're just British.
got to see his masterpiece completed since he moved back to his country when financing was suspended after 9 years of working on the project.
Okay, the Danish bloke who designed the Sydney Opera House never even saw it because he was too busy living in Denmark. That's our Australian building. That's the one that everyone's like, I want to go to Australia and I want to see that Australian building. It was just like pooped out by a Danishman. Then he nicked off.
Number 5. There are 150 random giant sculptures across the country.
I don't believe that this is a thing that only happens in Australia. Maybe having specifically 25, but every country has giant statues. The US undoubtedly has far more.
Are placed along roads to attract tourists. It's hard to resist the temptation of a giant cheese statue that was made for selfies, you know.
Absolutely. Impossible, actually. Impossible to drive straight past that thing.
Some people even deliberately go on road trips to take pictures of all the big things of Australia.
Really? Jeez. I don't know. You could probably find something better to do with your time. I don't think any of them are that impressive. There's maybe one or two that might be kind of cool.
Number 6. Normally, road signs give you precautions or inform you about something. In Australia, some roads are so long and boring that they put signs there to
Remember when the big mango got stolen?
No, but I'm not surprised. Probably a couple kids drunk on like VB.
entertain drivers. They can contain images of rich local fauna or trivia questions to keep you alert.
Why? Okay, they're saying that there's signs on the side of big long roads in Australia to keep people entertained, and then they're just showing pictures of signs of animals. Yeah, this is an echidna. There's going to be echidnas on the road. That's what that sign means. It's not for entertainment. Oh, look at the pretty sign of the echidna.
Number 7. What could be even better than trivia at saving your life? A seatbelt, of course. In 1970, the Australian state of Victoria became the first on the planet to introduce the compulsory seatbelt law for drivers and front seat passengers.
Okay. I believe it. I believe that Victoria was the first in the world. We got them laws, baby. Look at us now. No other countries use seatbelts. No other countries / places had compulsory seatbelts. We were the first. We'll give ourselves a little pat on the back. Saving lives. Remember, we're not just telling stories. The guy who made a seatbelt was Swedish. You know, we were the first to make it compulsory, so we're claiming it. Seatbelts are an Australian thing now. We just have to claim everything by extension. Like, we never get our own thing. It's always like, it's someone else's thing. And we're like, you see, but we made it a thing. We just had to use them. We just put laws on stuff. That's what makes Australia Australia.
Number 8. Americans were the first to patent the UGG brand, but the legendary boots actually come from Australia. Farmers and peasants have been wearing sheepskin turned inside out as boots since the beginning of the 20th century. The locals call them very ugly boots and wear them both outside and inside.
Why don't they call them vubs?
Why inside? Because when it's cold outside, the houses are really cold too.
Oh, come to Australia, where when it's cold outside, the houses are cold too. Just Australia things you guys wouldn't understand.
Number 9. Since 1988, Australian money has been made out of polymer, a special kind of plastic. Australia was the first country in the world to introduce plastic money.
Good on us. Now I feel like we don't really use cash. Cash is becoming so scarce in Australia. Like, sure, people still getting around with cash, but Not really. Like the majority of the time you're just paying with card anyway. Sure, plastic money makes more sense. It's durable. It can get wet. You can fold it as many times as you want. It's all good, but I don't even think it's something that the other countries really need to get on board with, because I kind of feel like cash is, you know, it's sort of on its way out.
One cool fact about plastic bills here.
You see, this is the new one. They've gone about putting this clear bit in the middle, and it's fancy. But honestly, since they started bringing in these newer notes where there's like this clear bit in the middle, I feel like I could count on both hands how many of them I've had, because since that's happened, I use cash so little that I barely ever see them.
One cool fact about plastic bills here is that if you tear
He says here, as if he lives here, as if he actually got on the plane and came here.
a $10 bill in two parts, you can use each half as a $5 bill.
What? No, you can't. I don't care if that's legally what you're allowed to do. Imagine being that bloke. You just got two like half $10 bills and you're like, yep, there you go. That's $10. Thanks. No, worse. You use each one. You're buying something for $5, you give them half a bill and you're like, see, well, it's half of a $10 bill, okay? It makes sense. It's $5. And like, sir, this isn't gonna work. It wouldn't work. There is no one that would accept it.
Number 10. Australia is such a great place to be.
Number 10, Australia's a great place to be. Number 11, just an Australian thing, right? Only Australia is a great place to be.
70 tourists overstay their visas every week. According to the Australian Department of Home Affairs, there are at least 62,000 people who came to the country for a vacation and stayed forever.
They never left. Is that not an issue that every country has? That simply cannot be an Australian thing.
It might be the really good salaries and social support, the striking beauty of the country, or something in the water that makes them choose Australia.
Yeah, that's not water. What I will say, the water does depend on where you live, but in Melbourne, we do have very good water. But I don't think that's why people are overstaying their tourist visas. Oh, yeah, here you go. Look, that's the Australian water. It's not orange. Confirmed. Unconfirmed from the video. They showed it was orange, but as an Australian, unconfirmed. Bam. Not orange.
11. In Australia, rent-a-grandma services are pretty popular. What's the difference between a regular nanny and a professional grandma? The first will take care of your kids, and the second will take care of everything in your household, just like a real grandma would. They babysit, pet sit, cook like chefs, help arranging events, and can even be your personal assistants.
What? Quite popular? What? These Aussies are getting out there renting grandmas and not telling me? How many grandmas have I met that have been fake? I've never heard of this in my life. Maybe my own grandma's fake. Maybe that's the truth. Maybe none of us in Australia actually have real grandmas. They're all fake and they've been hired.
And they come with a 60-day guarantee period. So if something goes wrong, you can get another.
You can take them back. Take them back to the grandma store. Get another grandma. I've never heard of this in my life. I feel like maybe they're just talking about nannies in a weird way, but nannies aren't an Australian thing. Nannies are just a thing. Ask your grandmother. My grandmother speaks Finnish. It'd be bizarre if she was working undercover as a fake hirer grandma.
Number 12. The super famous Australian name Kylie.
Did he just say Kylie? And it clearly is written here Kaylee. Was he trying to pull an Australian accent here? Hey, g'day. What's your name? Ah, Kylie. The super famous. The famousest name. I cannot get through a single day without bumping into a Kylie, spelt Kaylee. Kaylee is my sister's name? Wait, really? I've never met one.
Comes from the name of an Aboriginal Noongar hunting stick, something like a boomerang.
My name is Kylie too. Oh, but that one actually says Kylie. Was it a typo? That's how Australians spell Kylie. No, it's not. Sheila. In Australia, all the women are named Sheila. We don't have none of this Kaylee, none of this Kylie business. It is all Sheila.
It became popular in the 1970s thanks to local writer Kylie Tennant.
Kylie. Sure. Kylie. Why did you write Kaylee at the start?
By the way, the most popular girl's name in Australia for the last 3 years
Rebecca.
Is Charlotte.
Charlotte?
Inspired by the daughter of Prince William.
Charlotte! I feel like Rebecca has to be the most common name going around in Australia. Sorry, Sheila. Sheila. It's Sheila. Every Australian woman is named Sheila. Maybe Charlotte is just long for Sheila, you know? You heard it here first. Charlotte, long for Sheila.
Australia is home to the longest golf course on the planet. Nullarbor Links is an 18-hole par 72 golf course that's 850 miles long. It stretches across the two southern coast states.
Wait, what? Are you going to elaborate on that a little bit? That kind of makes no sense. Do you have to road trip across the golf course? How does that classify as a golf course? That makes no sense. Like, maybe it's like a bunch of golf courses that you could kind of bunch up together and call them one if you really wanted to. Yeah, and meanwhile, he's claiming to be in the land of Oz talking about Australia, and he's like, it's 850 miles. I don't know how long a mile is. If I want to judge a mile, I always have to do some math in my head, like, okay, how do I live my life? It's like a quarter mile at a time. So if I times how I live my life by 4, I know you guys tune in for the lame jokes.
The first police force down under was made up entirely of convicts. In 1788,
In 1788, Australia was made up of convicts. You can't pull this as a fact. Also, in 1788, the first ever bakers were convicts.
12 of the best behaved convicts were selected to patrol the settlement. And in 30 years, there were over 60 constables in Sydney, most of them previous convicts.
That's what I'm saying. That's because the entire population was previous convicts. What do you...
There was a fun incident at the official opening ceremony of the Sydney Harbour Bridge in 1932. Francis de Groot, who was a retired cavalry officer, decided to steal the
Oh, this is making me sick. Why are we on like a severely rocking boat?
show and sliced through the ceremonial ribbon with his sword before the New South Wales Premier, Jack Lang. As a result, de Groot was charged for the damaged ribbon, which had to be retied, and the poor guy was taken to a mental hospital.
What? What a hilarious situation. Funny Australian history. The guy cut a ribbon and got taken to a mental hospital. Welcome to Australia, guys.
Number 16. The Australian national soccer team set a world record in 2001 when it beat American Samoa 31-0. It was the 2002 FIFA World Cup qualifying game and brought the Aussies the largest ever victory.
Did he just say Aussies? Did he really come out here making a video about Australia and call us the Aussies? 31 goals to 0. Was the other team even there? That cannot be a credit to the Australian soccer team. That has to be due to the opposition. How are you supposed to say it? Aussies. Aussies. Yeah, Aussie. Oi. It's not Aussie. You know, I once met this Aussie from Melbourne. He was really good at football, and he lost his license because he didn't vote. Oh, and he had a fake grandma.
Number 17. Even though it's really easy to find kangaroo meat in supermarkets and restaurants across the country, it's not what Australians eat all the time, despite the common stereotype. In fact, around 3,300 tons.
For some reason, this is a discussion topic that we talk about on the stream all the time. Twitch.tv/Joinen, but on Twitch if you want to come and join the conversation. But eating kangaroo just comes down to the family. It's just like any other meat, right? Like, what does your family eat? Beef? Chicken? Lamb? Some are eating kangaroo all the time. Maybe on like a national scale, it may not be like the most common meat. It definitely wouldn't be. It's not that weird for a family to just be eating kangaroo. What does kangaroo taste like? It's kind of like a lean beef. There's like 50 million of them in the country. There's plenty of them, and I think it's healthier for you than beef. Whatever. All right, moving along.
Number 18. The wombat is the only animal in the world that has cube-shaped poo.
Yes! Finally something we as Australians can claim. You know, all these other false claims. That's not really Australian, it's British. That's not Australian. Some dude whispered it into an Aussie's ear first. But all of you can't take this from us. We have animals that poop squares. Oh jeez, it really is. They really do be pooping out little brownies. That's impressive.
Some experts believe it's used to mark territory since it doesn't roll away. Others believe it's because of the dry environment they live in. I think it's because it might
Wait, but then all the other animals live in the same environment. Then it wouldn't just be the wombats.
have a square-shaped colon, but what do I know?
Oh yeah, square-shaped colon with a little sphincter knife that just goes and just chops it off as it's coming out. Just boop, 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 boop. Little blocks. Normal poo doesn't roll away either though. Well, clearly you're not pooping onto steep hills, are you?
19. In Australia, you can find the only living specimen from the Triassic period, over 350 million years ago.
Oh, here's the 350 million years thing. So it's not like an actual fish that's 350 million years old.
It's the lungfish, the only fish that can breathe air with a single lung in dry periods when there isn't enough water in the streams. It hasn't changed much in the last 110 million years.
Cool.
Kinda like root beer.
What? Is it a joke? Am I missing the joke there? Root beer hasn't changed in the past 110 million years? Does someone get the joke? Also, like, root beer isn't even really a thing in Australia. Weirdly enough, this is another topic we've talked about on the stream before.
Number 20. The famous Australian drop bear is actually
Scary. And it kills people every year. Stay away. Be careful in the forests. Moving along.
NASA $400 for littering in a public park.
What?
Debris from the orbital space station Skylab happened to land there. NASA refused to pay the fine for over 30 years.
Australia tried to fine NASA for littering space debris? That's so Australian. So they paid it though? It kind of sounds like they paid it 30 years later. Unless Australia just dropped the charge after 30 years. Just so you know, lungfish don't only live in Australian waters. You have to take everything from us. Nothing's ever Australian, except cube poo.
There's a fire in New South Wales that's been burning for over 5,500 years. It's a coal fire hidden 100 feet beneath Mount Wingan.
Oh, okay. Cool. We've got a wicked old fire. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Every year, the Cockroach Racing World Championship takes place in Brisbane. If you ever decide to take part in it, you can either bring your own roach or buy one directly at the event venue.
And let me tell you, you cannot get a day living in Australia without someone mentioning the cockroach races. It is the pride and joy of the Australians.
24. Australians tend to invent nicknames for everything.
I call this food Anna. What's he eating? What is Anna?
Aussie, which is short for Australian.
Ew. He said it again. It's so gross sounding. Aussie.
Brissy is Brisbane.
Brissy. Brissy. Oh my gosh. You got it wrong twice in a row. Listen to how you say Brisbane. You don't say Brisbane. You don't say Brisbane. You don't say Brissy.
Footy is football. G'day is good day.
Good day is good day.
Arvo is afternoon.
Arvo? Come on, Dick! Come on! If you're going to make a video about how to say things in Australian, say them right! Good day. Would you like to go play some footy in Brissy? This Arvo? I'm an Australian. I'm your typical Aussie. Good day. My name's Kayla. Kaylee? Kaylee. My name's Kylie, and I'm an Aussie. Let's go play some footy.
And Barbie is barbecue. Keep it in mind when you visit Straya. Yeah, that's what they call their own country.
Oh, those Australians. Oh, those Aussies. Calling their own country Straya. Straya? Straya? Straya. Straya. Oh, those Australians. Putting things on their Barbie. Can the Australians even claim Barbie? Like, can you really claim Barbie? It's just half of the word. Barbecue. Barbie. Surely other people are calling it a Barbie as well. Like, you're just shortening the word. Just say BBQ. Hey guys, would you like to fire up the BBQ? I've got a couple of shrimp in the freezer. We could defrost them and chuck them on the BBQ. It would be a ripper. I know that this is like an outplayed thing. Australians are always trying to like convince the world. We don't really say shrimp. We call them prawns. I don't care if they're actually different things. We just say prawns. I can't even particularly recall a time where I've had a prawn on a barbecue. I've definitely had a lot of prawns. Australians will eat prawns. Australians eat barbecues. Sometimes they eat prawns and barbecues at the same time. And I'm sure a prawn on the barbecue, that sounds pretty good. It's not really a common thing. You get a snag, get a Sunday snag on the Barbie. Also, it's not like everyone's strictly saying Straya and Barbie. Like, you can. I don't. Have never really called it Straya. And I don't really say Barbie. Like, sure, maybe on the occasion. Fire up the Barbie.
25.
All right, finally.
Australia could have been Dutch. Dutchman Abel Tasman.
Australia could have not been Australian. They're taking Australia from the Australians. We can't have one thing except cube poop. Thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate it. If you want to get some of the sweet lemon carton merch, you can get some in the description below. And come and follow me over on twitch.tv/Joinen, but on Twitch, where I stream every weekday, Australian time, which is probably not even our time. It's just someone else's time. Plus some hours, which I think is just how time works, but I'll see you guys tomorrow for the sweet Barbie that I'll be chucking.
Thank you for watching my video, but now that it's done, please watch another one.